Okay, everyone, so we're going to get going. We have the introductions by the mayoral candidates first, 2 minutes each, and we're going to start with Councilman Ellis.
Thank you. So first I want to start by thanking the City-Wide PTO and for having all of us here. And one more public thank you I want to do before we really get started is to my wife, Robin, who's here with me. And it's important I thank her because with this, let me tell you the story of why I'm here, what brought me here to run for mayor. I actually met my wife in these hallways. We were on this stage many times. We started dating at Danbury High School. And we were in the part of the marching band, we were in the band. And now you fast forward from where we met in these schools, in this very building. And we had children. We're planning our family, planning our life. And when you get ready to have children, first thing you start thinking about is, you're already thinking about when they're 20 years old, you're thinking about their college, their future, you're thinking about where they're going to go to school. So we started having these conversations of where our children are going to go to school. And then what we noticed was our peers, our friends, who we grew up with our age, they were moving out of town. We always hear that people are coming into Danbury, but we don't talk about the people we're losing. Our peer group has been moving to other towns with a perception of better schools. And we knew we wanted our kids to grow up. We knew we wanted to go to not only one of the most diverse school systems in the state, one of the most diverse school systems in the country, with tremendous teachers, with great administrators. So we vowed to each other that we were going to fight for it. And that vow really quickly changed to my wife saying, well, I think you're going to run for office. And now here I am, right? So Robin, thank you. You're the reason we're here. 30 seconds. I appreciate that. Now, we knew it wasn't going to be hard because we saw what the challenges were. The schools weren't broken. They didn't need to be fixed. But there's a lot of opportunity here because they haven't been invested properly. Our schools are ranked at last when it comes to per pupil expenditure, 169 out of 169. Our teachers are overworked. Our counselors are overworked. We have real challenges here in Danbury, but we need real solutions because for the last 2 years, things have been stagnant. And the only way we change that is with new vision, new energy, and people who really have a stake in this. Parents, residents, neighbors. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to thank the PTO, City-Wide PTO, for hosting us here tonight. Thank you to all the candidates that are here tonight to speak directly to the constituents so they hear exactly what we have to say. I also would like to thank the audience, all of you here tonight that came to listen to what we do have to say, so you know where we're coming from on the issues, especially of education. And education is one of the most crucial issues that we face in this city, obviously. I'm going to take a little time to introduce myself again. Dean Esposito, I'm a candidate for mayor here in Danbury. I was born and raised here in Danbury. And like Mr. Ellis, I went to this school as well. And I was a little bit before his time, but I was here as well. I attended all Danbury schools, right from South Street School in kindergarten to Danbury High School, as I said, and graduated. Actually, my daughter went to South Street School as well, and I was the president of the PTO actually there back in 89, or 98, 97, 98. My son attended St. Joe's for preschool. I went on to be elected to the Common Council, or the City Council as they call it now, in 1998, or yeah, 98, or 89, I'm sorry. And then I was appointed to city clerk in 2003. That was a true honor that I was selected by the party that I represented at the time, 37th town clerk. I went from there to the sealer of wage united for the city. I went from there to the mayor's staff with Mayor Boughton, and I became Mayor Boughton's chief of staff for the last 6 years. And now I have the honor of being chief of staff for Mayor Cobb. And I think that we have to focus right now in this time as we sit here today. We need someone that's experienced that's going to help move the city forward, especially with education, especially with everyday operations. Experience is the key. Thank you.
And now the Board of Ed members will have, or Board of Ed candidates, I should say, will have 1 minute to introduce themselves, and I think we'll go from left to right, so we just move down the line. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Britton, and I moved my family back in the early 70s. My father had a business here in the Fourth Ward for almost 30 years, so we've got a lot of roots here in the Danbury area. I have 3 children, all 3 born, raised in Danbury, and all 3 proud to say graduated from Danbury Public Schools. So while they were at school, I served 8 years on the PTO, so I'd like to give a big thank you to all the PTO people here. You play a vital role in our school system, so I know and I value all the volunteering and the hours that you put in. So thank you. And
15 seconds.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Joe Dasola. I'm currently a member of the Danbury Board of Education. I ran 2 years ago because education, as Mr. Ellis just said, is key. We all agree to that in this room, and first I want to thank every member on this dais, everyone who's running for office. It takes a lot to put yourself out there to run. Everybody here should be commended for doing that. Because education is important, everybody here believes that. There's some difference in philosophy as to how that is done. Education is important, and I'm a proud product of the Danbury Public Schools. I went to King Street School, I went to Rogers Park, and I graduated from Danbury High School after attending in this very building. I was in between Councilman Ellis and candidate Esposito. I had a great education. My children are receiving a great education. I believe we have to work hard to make sure all kids get the same access to the same great education that I got, and that we all in this room got. Thank you.
Pass down the other one.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Good evening. Is that better? Yes. Thank you. My name is Teresa Crusade. I am seeking the Board of Ed position as I can make an important contribution to my hometown based on my background, knowledge, and experience. I was born and raised here in Danbury. My dad graduated from Danbury High in 1939 and was a World War II Marine veteran. My mother immigrated here from Lebanon after World War II. I attended local schools and I graduated from Danbury High in 1970. I received a BA and MA in history from Western Connecticut State University. My husband Neil and I have been married for 45 years. We raised our 2 children, Neil III and Philippe, in Danbury. They both graduated from the United States Military Academy at West Point and served their country in Iraq. I retired after 20 years from Western Connecticut State University as the Administrative Assistant Emeritus to the Provost and Academic Vice President. In my position, I worked with faculty, staff, and students, as well as with CSU System Office in Hartford. Some of my work consisted of implementing policies and
All right. I don't think you'll have any trouble hearing my new mouth, but so Ralph Petrofessa, longtime Danbury resident, 2 children through the Danbury school system, son that graduated, and daughter, a current senior here at Danbury High School. Served on the Board of Ed for a total of 6 years, former chairperson Sites and Facilities Committee, former citywide PTO president, great organization, thank you guys. Former Great Plain PTO president, there's any Great Plainers here. Great school, and just basically coming out of retirement to run again for the Board of Ed because I don't have to say it again. People understand that education is very important, and
15 seconds.
These days things are a little different, and they need a unique perspective, and I think I offer that having the experience that I've had on the board in the past.
Hi, my name is Rachel Palesky. I'm a current board member. My husband Carl and I have lived in Danbury for over 20 years. I have 2 children in the Danbury Public Schools. one in middle school and one here at the high school. As long as my kids have been in the school system, I've been heavily involved as a volunteer, a PTO officer, junior achievement facilitator, kindergarten interventionist, and a board member for the past 4 years. Before deciding to run for the board, I attended board meetings for several years, became a graduate of the Parent Leadership Training Institute, and an advocate for fair education funding as I became aware of the state's broken ECS formula. During my time on the board, I have served as vice chair, secretary, and chair of the policy committee. Over the past 4 years, I have grown in knowledge, experience, and passion for this work, and I hope that I will be able to continue to serve our community in this capacity. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me if I use my teacher voice? Hi, my name is Jean Reveau. I'm a resident of Danbury.
Mask, please.
You need it? Okay. I've been a resident of Danbury.
Mask.
Oh, put it on.
There you go.
Sorry. Can I start over? Or did I lose all that time? Okay. I've lived here for 24 years. I have been teaching for over 20 years. I used to teach at Danbury High School and Broadview Middle School. I taught English in both schools. I have a Master of Education. I have 3 children who graduated from Danbury High School that they attended while I was here. I have 3 published books. I have a grandson who is now in Pembroke School, so I have a very vested interest in what happens to the education in Danbury. And I've served on several boards of directors, one international one, and that's pretty much me. I'm a wife and mother and grandmother.
Good evening, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to thank the PTO and all the others that have worked so hard to put this evening together. I appreciate everyone coming out this evening. My name is Michelle Cuellar. I'm a Republican candidate for the Board of Education. Hola, bienvenidos. Me llamo Michelle Cuellar. Estoy corriendo de parte del Partido Republicano, Consejo de Educación. Okay. I'm first generation Cuban American that has been proudly living in the diverse city of Danbury for 20 years, married to Michael, and full-time working mother of 3 beautiful children, 23, 15, and 11, born and raised in Danbury. The reason I decided to run is because I think our children should continue to be our top priority while recognizing that parents' voices matter.
15 seconds.
Las voces de los padres importan. I want our parents to feel confident that Danbury schools are continuing to provide the best education and opportunities for their children. While working with incredibly talented teachers, I will listen to concerns of our kids and parents and make sure we hear all their perspectives, but make decisions that put our resources in the right places. Thank you.
I just want to say good evening quickly, because I guess I have to talk a little fast. I'm Dr. Kerman, and I'm very happy to be here to share the discussion of our future goals for our schools and students. For over 50 years as an educator, teaching in Danbury, working with the State Department with Professional Development, administrator at Mill Ridge Primary for over 25 years, I've had the privilege to serve with very wonderful students, families, and staff as they work for the benefit of all. Many have experienced schools of distinction, blue ribbon awards, and the like. I've seen them accomplish marvelous things in spite of funding concerns. By now, our city continues to grow. We must continue to seek other ways to be sure our state officials realize this growth and what it means for our students.
15 seconds.
I've been involved in all aspects of school development, PK through grade 12, and have lived and worked within many cultures and beliefs. There's so many things I would like to say, but I know we're stuck with time frame. And as my staff would say, Dr. C, you better be quiet. I do want to say I'll plan to work with the city and state officials to develop plan for improvement and funding of our educational system as we face a growing population. Please help me, let me do this, and help you. It's time that we move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Corrigan. So we are going to move on now to a couple of questions. I just also wanted to mention, if anyone needs interpreters, we have Portuguese and Spanish in the back with headsets, so please just go to the back and somebody will help you. Moving on, our first question is for the two mayoral candidates. Mr. Esposito will answer first, and the question is, and we've had many questions regarding this topic in many different forms, but it comes down to there's multiple questions and comments regarding increased enrollment in Danbury. So besides the much discussed and already in progress Career Academy and Ellsworth Annex, what do you propose to do to address the needs of our ever-increasing enrollment in our district now?
Thank you. I think we've been taking initiatives now. We've been moving forward with our current administration, which I've been part of, with the Freshman Academy. We have Ellsworth Avenue, as you mentioned. We have Granville Avenue that we've developed for the younger kids. We've got the Career Academy moving forward, which is a middle school, high school. Well, I think when I read this note, it says now in capital letters. How do we provide that now? Well, in my opinion, now is the time to move forward on our public charter school. Charter school gives us the ability to move forward now. If we would get our state legislators to approve this so we can move forward and get the monies that we deserve. We got a donor that's there to help subsidize it. We have the state that's going to fund it. So the impact on our taxpayers is minimal. So if you want to get this moved forward now, a public charter school is the way to go.
Councilman Ellis.
Is this mic any better? Well, thank you for that question, but more importantly, thank you for the way that question was ended with the word now. Because Danbury's overcrowding isn't a new problem, it's a now problem. And I see it firsthand. Every morning when my children get on that school bus, on their way to school, that bus drives by an elementary school before it gets to theirs. And those two schools aren't even the two closest schools to our house. And that's just one example of some of the challenges of overcrowding. Another one is that the city of Danbury right now is currently leasing space for kindergartners in Brookfield. We don't have space for them here. We are in dire need now. Tonight you're going to hear a lot about how the state needs to do more, but the truth is the city needs to do more. You're also going to hear a lot of buck passing and having somebody else figure out these challenges. But that's not what our teachers and students, families deserve. But you know what we don't see when they say they're doing some fixing now? We don't see results that matter, results that make a difference. We don't need, like I said earlier, more families leaving the neighboring communities like Brookfield. They invest 60% of their budget towards education. We need leadership that's committed to not making excuses and blaming others and addressing the challenge now. The state just increased our pilot funding by the tune of $2.5 million. I'll make a commitment to put all that money into education as it was allocated for. That's now. We make a commitment to increase the city's portion of the education budget now. That's what we're going to do now, not pass the buck.
The second question is directed at all candidates, and so we will start with you since he started the last question, and then we'll move down the row for everybody. And the question is, what are your goals regarding education here in Danbury, and how do you plan on accomplishing them?
Thank you. Well, we need to address three major things. The conditions of our schools, the students are packed. We see these pictures every year. Staffing at all levels, especially guidance counselors. Right now, there's examples of guidance counselors in our city with 375 children to one counselor. The American School Counselor Association recommends that these children have a ratio of 250 to 1. Think about what we're going through these days, the mental health issues, and these counselors are overworked. The other thing we need to do is address how the city allocates our budget. A decade ago, 55% of the city's budget was allocated to the Board of Ed. For the last 5 years, since 2016, it's only been 51%. And in fact, the education funding over the last since 2016, hasn't increased a single percentage point. That's a huge divestiture in our children. Now let's talk about what we've been doing. What we've been doing is we stopped and we've been listening. We are where we are because the other side hasn't been listening. 30 seconds. I see a lot of familiar faces here. You're familiar because we've rallied together, we've organized together, we've demanded action together. But those demands have fallen on deaf ears. Their priorities have not been with our children, with our families, with our teachers, with our administrators. I hear you. That's why we have a plan. It's been out for weeks, a real plan, now to pass the buck. And it starts with adequate funding, allocating our precious resources accordingly, and increasing the percentage that we give to our schools. That's how we get it done. Thank you.
That overcrowding is not a new problem here in Danbury. The overcrowding issue came up back when my youngest child was in second, third grade, and he's now in college. And back then, there was no long-term plan initiated by the city to help us get out of this. So what we need is a long-term plan that helps us dig us out of this hole of overcrowding that we've gotten ourselves into. And we need somebody in the city that's actually going to implement this plan. But also, we have to discuss the lack of funding that's been given to our school system as a whole and what that's done. When we were on the PTO, we had to fundraise for a new school sign and new stage curtains because there was no money from the city to replace them for us. And that's unacceptable. We had to fundraise for smart boards because there was no money to give them into our classrooms. That's unacceptable. So we as a board, as a city, as parents, need to push this for our children and need to put them first. So we need to make sure that our students are in classrooms that are adequately suited for learning. And we also have to make sure that every child in the city has equitable access to the state-of-the-art resources that they need to build that foundation of learning. So when we as parents see our children graduate Danbury High School, they are leaving with the best high-quality education that we can give them. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 years ago, when I ran for the Board of Education, I had two goals in mind. The first was to address overcrowding because, as you've heard this evening, that's not a new problem. It's been a problem for years. The other was to address the gross lack of funding on the part of the city of Danbury. Very proud of the fact that the Board of Education over the last 2 years has moved and been active and addressed the issue of overcrowding. The Granville Pre-K Academy that freed up 7 classrooms in schools, the Ellsworth Avenue Annex, the Coming Career Academy. Those are concrete examples that we've done to address overcrowding. Tomorrow evening, as a member of the Sites and Facilities Committee I will be at a meeting where we will discuss future growth and how to deal with middle school overcrowding. That was our goal for 2 years. It still continues to be our goal. To be clear, the solution, and I will work everything in my power to avoid a charter school in this town. The only thing public about a charter school is the public money that funds it. A charter school is managed by a board of directors, not in Danbury. The board of directors is perfectly in charter schools, $3,500 is removed from the Danbury budget allocation from the state to fund a charter school. A public money should not go to a private corporation. A charter school does not answer to the members of this Board of Education. They do not answer to the mayor of Danbury. It is not the solution for Danbury.
Hello? As a new candidate running for the Board of Ed, I look at grants. I think there's a lot of money out there, and I would like to work towards getting more funding from grants for the schools. It's the bottom line for all our problems. We just need more money. And I think grants are a great way to help that situation.
You know, you'll all agree, there's not just one issue that affects Danbury. Danbury is such a diverse and unique school system. There's, you know, a lot of different issues that come up. So the way I would accomplish some of the goals of moving the district forward and addressing the issues is I was always a big fan of visiting the schools, talking to the teachers, and really the people who see what really goes on in the schools. So I used to visit the schools, you know, twice, 3 times a year at every school, and it was great because you get some information from the administration, you know, that's 2 or 3 filters through there, and it gets, you know, once it gets down to you, everything is great. So I was a big proponent of going in, talking to
30 seconds.
and seeing the people on the ground, who are teachers dealing with stuff every day. And each school has a unique issue. So when you go there, you go and understand and try to get a feel for what they're dealing with. So that's what I bring back to the boardroom and how I try to make decisions. So I would continue to do that because the teachers are, you know, all unique situations in school. Teachers are working hard and they really know what the school needs. You know, when you sit up in the boardroom and you don't go out and visit people and see people and understand what people need, you know, it's very difficult. So that's what I like to do, and I like to hear from the people that are actually going through the problems that are actually in the school.
First and foremost, my goal as a board member is to place children at the forefront of every decision. I will continually strive for ways and opportunity that will allow them to succeed. There are several district initiatives that began during my time on the board that I hope to be able to continue and see through to completion if re-elected. At the start of my term, I asked about our district vision and mission, dusted that off, which happened to coincide with an opportunity to develop the portrait of a graduate. Several years, 2 grants, many focus groups, and 1 new superintendent later, our district is headed in an exciting new direction. Having served on the city DPS task force, I would like to see through the completion of our ongoing building projects, as well as on the educational side and implementation of the career pathways at the new career academy. The board is currently in the midst of auditing our entire policy manual, and while this isn't the most exciting or glorious work, right, Joe?
30 seconds.
I do enjoy it, and it's critical, and would like to see that through. And last, but definitely not least, communication is always a high priority for me. As a parent, I know and recognize the importance of communication, so as a board member, I will always look for ways to strengthen that communication. Thank you.
As a teacher and a parent of students, I think I have a perspective from both sides of the aisle, so to speak. One of my primary goals is to fund our students and teachers based fully on what the BOE approves. One of my primary goals is to ensure our students are considered our #1 resource and stop being put on the back burner by cutting proposed budgets. Another of my primary goals is to alleviate the tremendous toll our underfunded budget and ever-increasing student population has hung on the shoulders of our teachers and staff, with the expectation year after year that they should be able to accomplish growth and achievement with less and less money, with less and less resources, overcrowded classrooms, pleas to leadership that fall on deaf ears, and to ensure our leadership going forward endorses and trusts the thoroughly researched budget proposal and then fund it 100%.
30 seconds.
My primary goal is to once and for all help find equity in the funding of our schools, the 6th largest school district in Connecticut with the absolute lowest funding. Let me repeat that, the 6th largest school district with the lowest funding. Doing these things will ensure being able to attract and hire teachers, counselors, and increase the quality of educational resources for our children. And I want to work to keep charter schools out of here because 40% and if they're going to put 600 students in a charter school by 2024, the school
Thank you,
is wrong by that much anyway.
Hello. I obviously am on the other side of the coin.
Hold the mic up.
Sorry, okay. I'm on the other side of the standpoint, I believe the charter school would immediately satisfy some of the needs that we have on overcrowding. It is going to be fully paid, no increase to the taxpayer. It will be in downtown Danbury, growing as a part of our new community, the Hispanic Latin community. They have new programs, the LEAD program that would work, I would hope, together with the parents and the teacher, together and our students. Shape the future of our community, and therefore not just fire areas for children. Are going to address that now, then we need to actually start strong and build and
30 seconds.
future. So I am an advocate for charter school. It would not impact current public school funding given to the schools. Education not private, strict public,
Thank you for being on the other side. I listened to all, but you know, after being in the school district for 50 years, and we're still talking about overcrowded. My school so overcrowded, and was still overcrowded, and we have to do something, and as she said, this is freebie. Why would we look at this like it's some terrorist. It's awesome that nothing to worry about. We need to get the teachers, and if we're already going to go to another school, certainly can move the charter school. Your certification works. So it's not a deal about anything other than we give students the opportunity to be they got to have space, got to have every area to explore
30 seconds.
as well. So I would work with the state officials to see come down, really do something. Finally, Danbury can make COVID.
Moving on to question 3. Mr. Esposito, this will be...
I didn't get to answer this question.
Oh.
Thank
So you can answer question 2, and then you will also get question 3.
you. Okay, thank you. Well, obviously, question 2 has hit some nerves. We're sitting back and talking about opportunities that the city of Danbury to move forward and things that space that we need, quality education that they provide, and bring the city to a point where we have a breathing space to move forward and look into other options, as we know. There's an opportunity out there for us. We're not going to be able to build a new school within we know that. We are looking into new opportunities, renting space, for buying pre-existing buildings and renovating. But no, my friend down at the other end of the table keeps saying they did not do this, they did not do that. But my friend is a city councilman as we speak right now. I haven't heard him step up and offer or an option when he votes no on our proposals. What is the option? He hasn't made that clear. So the option for us right now is to move forward. We're close with our new superintendent. We're close with the new director of finance on the education side. And they have more than one new staffer over there in finance. We have a great staffer, finance director on the side. And we're going to continue to work closely together to move this thing forward. Provide the best service we can to the city of Danbury, especially the ones that need the most are the children. Thank you.
The next question. The Danbury Public School District, as we have discussing here, has been underfunded for many years at both the state and city level. Given the current state constraints, how do you propose to bridge the gap in funding and give the district the tools necessary to succeed, including more teachers, more staff, and more programs? How will you ensure that Danbury can provide all of our students with a competitive, high-quality education? Mr. Esposito, you're first.
Oh, thank you.
This is for the mayors only. Thank you.
This is for me. Again, there's an opportunity here to fulfill those obligations that we're looking for in this question. More teachers, more staff, more programs. They'll be offered with the charter school. Gives us the opportunity to move forward very quickly and provide the space that we need. You know, I get concerned about some of the comments here tonight about underfunding or cutting budgets. Just to make it clear, the fact is that we never cut the education budget, ever. Every single year it's been increased. Those are documented numbers. You can ask for the number that you're asking for is one thing. Yeah, sir, by law you can't cut the budget. If you you have to be at least the same number as last year. We can please settle down in the audience. The fact is we never cut the budget on the education side. We have a surplus this year of almost $2 million. So we're doing something right here in Danbury. And we're going to continue to do it right. No matter what the facts are that people bring out in a negative way. I'm a Danburian. I want to move Danbury forward. And Danbury is where we have to be. We have to unify and provide a quality education for these kids. Not sit out there and argue about that. So let's start working together and build a coalition here for the city and the students and the kids that live here. Because that's the future. We all know that. Thank you.
Thank you. So this isn't much about the city of Danbury doing more as it is about the state needing to do more. But before we really get into it, I think a quick finance lesson. We haven't gone up a percentage. You increased the dollar, but the value of a dollar today isn't the same as the value of a dollar 20 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. That's finance. There's inflation involved. When we talk about inflation, we haven't even kept up with inflation. And if it wasn't for braided funding every year for our schools, with funding sources we can't rely on year in, year out, we wouldn't even meet contractual agreements. That's no way to run a business. And it's certainly no way to run a city. So what we have to do is stop kicking the can down the road, stop passing the buck, because that's the reality. This isn't new. Every year we hear this. And how we go from that is we need a leader who's going to implement the most efficient and effective solutions that don't sacrifice quality along the way, that don't take from the public schools. What am I going to do? Like I said before, we are committing to increasing funding. The $2.5 million that the state increased that's supposed to be allocated for education, we haven't heard anything from the city saying they're going to allocate all of it. I am committing to that. We're going to increase the funding because it's our responsibility to do so. And as a city councilman for the last 2 years, I've done more than the city government does in 10 years. That's why these people know me, because they've seen me advocate for that. That's why I'm going to